Hey, hello, greetings and welcome. Okay, let's continue with the underlying theory of meditation. Now, in the last couple of videos, I've gone through the bigger picture, and this bigger picture is really important because if you don't get a good sense of where you're going, there's a tendency to get caught on sidetracks. You'll get preoccupied with a particular skill, or you get preoccupied with mental wandering when you have an experience. And most of these sidetracks are really valuable for refining skills in your path of service, but aren't always valuable in your path of ascension. So what I do is I look at the sidetrack that I'm taking and how valuable is this particular sidetrack for the ascension process. So if you look at Tai Chi, it's healthy. It keeps your body in a state of longevity if you train it with that type of thinking. It has, you're building Fajin skills, you're tuning and building the biotensecrity of the body. So that biotensecrity is very valuable to develop a vehicle that's good for ascension. So it has a range of qualities. But then when you take it to the point of, I've got to master this empty force and I have to get the Fajin to make the person fly further. The most valuable part of Tai Chi is really the first year, where you get the Tai Chi body, you feel life force and you're cultivating. From there, it goes off the central trunk and it goes onto the sidetrack. Tai Chi in and of itself doesn't take you to Nibbana. It takes you into eyes of a hawk. It's a martial skill, and you get caught on developing these martial components of that skill. The center of gravity of the mind, paying attention and concentrating, developing Samahati, the universal principles, that's what takes you upwards. So every point of interest that you have that you're exploring metaphysically, recognize how far you go off the central trunk and the time used, and whether that time's useful. If you're a Tai Chi teacher and this is your livelihood and that's your path of service, okay, you want to put a lot of time into that and become very good at it so you can present it to people really well. And okay, you can justify that's a good use of time. But if you're doing it as a hobby, then you have to question, well, this is taking up a lot of time that I could be putting into other practices that will give you much stronger ascension. So you need to evaluate where you put your time and how you put that time in. All right, so I'll keep this video relatively short. A few other pointers on the path and looking at the bigger picture is we tend to put small things under a microscope and get infatuated with the little details, where very often it's very unnecessary. You can just look at the bigger picture and go, oh, okay, I can step outside of that box and go, this is where I've got to go. I can just let go of that detail and move forward. And usually it's okay. So try not to get preoccupied with the small things. Look at the bigger picture. Look where your mind slots into that vibrational scale. Look at the work you need to do in the process of moving forward, and move forward. Too often people, their own intelligence robs them of time. So they start unraveling things and going into things that really aren't necessary. An example might be to understand how some things work that aren't relevant to your spiritual growth. So you may have an interest in the universal structure of things, the way the mind of the universe manifests and creates and expands itself. And it's very, very interesting, and you can spend a lot of time researching, developing that, and having out-of-body experiences and communing with nature spirits and different deities to understand that knowledge. But it doesn't necessarily get you closer to Nibbana. It doesn't take you through the Dharma path to the pinnacle. So you want to be very, very sensitive about how you use your time. And again, you just mirror the bigger picture of, okay, this is the goal. There's Nibbana on the top. This is the non-dual mind. This is the Akashic empty space. And this is the form space. And I'm going to work up that vibrational scale. And each one of these techniques, each one of these dharmas, give me a method to work up that vibrational scale. And so let's say a person is doing a mantra and they're chanting the mantra over and over. Quite often they miss the fact that that mantra is creating an underlying profound stillness, that you may only need to do the mantra for minutes. You know, one string of beads, how long does that take? 10, 15 minutes? And even less if a person's going at high speed. And that accumulated stillness, you close your eyes and enter the stillness that was opened out of doing the mantra. Where some people might do mantras for days and days and days. It's what the mantra produces that you need to pay attention to. It's like a key. You don't keep turning the lock, lock, open, you open the door and you step through. So building the base energy of the mantra produces something, and then you observe what it produced, and then you absorb and learn and translate and use that as a doorway to move through. And so looking at how to use your time most efficiently, and then reflecting it off the bigger picture, and stepping back and looking at that bigger picture just allows you to do things so much more efficiently, not to waste time, but to move forward. Okay, so if you're on the Vimeo channel, on the Hermetics channel or the Qigong channel, I've gone into a lot of detail on this. Have a look at that information if you're interested in it. And if you have any questions, let me know and I'll answer questions on Hermetics and Buddhism via the Initiation to Hermetics channel. At a later time, once I've gotten the main framework of the initiation course done on that Vimeo channel, then I'll put more time here on YouTube into breaking down the metaphysics of each Dharma, each teaching, and how it functions as a tuning fork and how it affects people's minds as a practicer, and basically the alchemy of how Buddhism functions. Because I always found that fascinating, because Buddhism is a very, very deep alchemical science, but people don't perceive it that way. And when you see it as these tuning forks vibrating in a very specific way to create these upward growth patterns, it's fascinating, and I really enjoy that. So as more time becomes available, I'll start posting videos on that. For the moment, I'll be correlating everything into the Initiation to Hermetics text on the Vimeo channel, and the Tai Chi will be more Tai Chi oriented, and the Qigong library, it's already got over 500 videos there, and that's just a library of classes of teachings and topics that I've taught in the past. And I continue to post onto that as well, in relation more to the vital breathing processes, astral breathing processes that aren't necessarily Tai Chi, and they're not specifically in relation to the Hermetics process. They're part of Hermetics, everything is, but they're more Qigong exercises for people who want to practice Qigong. So I've separated everything into those three particular Vimeo channels for people with different interests. There seems to be a divide between Qigong people and Tai Chi people. A lot of people who do Qigong sort of have a resistance about Tai Chi, and vice versa sometimes. So I separated them just to keep everything simple. Someone who wants Tai Chi, that channel's specifically on that topic. People who want the library of all the different teachings, that's there. And once I've finished the basic outline of the Hermetics text, I'm going to go through it in I think the next one must probably be the warrior path. When you activate the reptilian brain, and basically you dig deep into your willpower, and then you practice, you produce a vastly different type of power and phenomena. It's sort of like you're summoning the ancestors of your DNA, that part of you that had to survive, and then you let your spirit run through that, and your genetic coding gets tinkered with, and you change your feeling of your environment. You touch the ground and you can feel the earth, and it creates a very, very different type of initiation process. It's very shamanic and it's very warrior oriented. And these different approaches to the initiation text are I find them very interesting, and they're very suitable for people in military and martial arts and so forth. So I'll run through the initiation text in different formats. So people who are into the more of the yogi, ashram sort of family vibe, and they have an underlying sense of love as the basic fabric of what they're doing. This different type of softness, this feeling of holding a baby and learning to love yourself, it's a totally different frequency when you dive through that water element frequency to practice each exercise. You end up in a totally different place to the warrior path of doing the initiation text. And then we have the intellectual path, where you're breaking things down in a very intellectual way. So you bubble up the exercises into a mental mind substance, and then you let the mind substance through understanding manifest itself back down again. So it's a very deep insight type of path into what you're doing and how it functions. And then the cave dweller, the path of just sitting in stillness and purely looking at the rising of stillness. And for me personally, that's what I do. I just like to look at the exercise, look at the stillness, be sensitive to both, and I harvest the stillness in underlying the mind substance of the exercise. And that earth path, sitting in your cave and practicing, for me, that gives me the most amount of joy. But all these 4 different approaches are used in different traditions, and there's a slant towards different schools of thought, and they're all correct because they're for different types of karma. If a person has got the Mars energy karma and they're a warrior, okay, then that path of activating the reptilian brain and functioning through it intuitively works fantastically. And the feeling inside of the endorphin rush you get is incredible. It's like, wow, this feels amazing. So each one of these paths will activate a person's innate nature of they're a warrior, they're a person of compassion and love, they're an academic, an intellectual type, or like myself, I just like to be alone and practice and have a cabin, my cave, and sit in that space and practice in quietude. You'll find your way, and we'll slowly get through these different models, and once I've gotten through a few different runs, then I'll look at how to do the initiation text using sigil magic, how to do the initiation text using deity yoga, how to go through the initiation text using a type of space magic, how to go through the initiation text doing standing on a vortex and invoking the power of each exercise through a vortex and amplifying it. So there's all these fun curves you can put on your practice process, and these differences will enliven your practice, enliven the fun inside of it, and you go, oh, wow, I just love this stuff. It gives you that spark in your eye that just wants to train, and we'll slowly get through that. It will take me a few years because we're talking about 1,000 to 2,000 videos. So. And I find I can produce a few dozen videos a month. So yeah, I'll just keep posting, and people don't seem to be able to consume more than that anyway. So and then there's answering questions as well that need to be done through that medium. Okay, thank you for your time, and see you on the next video.